So humans are social animals. We're motivated to pay attention to what other people are doing. It's sort of the most fascinating thing to us, what others think. And you can certainly use that in the design of products. We know that, for example, there were two apps created in 2010, 2011 that experienced very divergent fortunes. Now, they both had the same basic aim. These apps were designed to take photos that you took on your iPhone and apply filters and improve the quality of those photos to make them look either retro or more interesting. Now, the first one was released in 2009, and in 2010 it was the Apple Store App of the Year. The second one was released a year later, and it was the 2011 App of the Year. Now, usually what happens is you have two apps that do basically the same thing. The one that comes first will obviously attract more of an audience, and people tend to have inertia. They stick with the one that they used first, so they don't jump over very readily. Well, what happened here was the reverse. Now, those two apps, you may have a sense, one is Hipstamatic and the other is Instagram. Now, the really big difference between those two and why Instagram is now worth over $1 billion where Hipstamatic is worth in the hundreds of thousands is in the way they used social, in the way they made their experience social. Now, Hipstamatic decided that they were purists. They were going to be all about the photo. And so they focused on that, and they said, if you want to share the photo, you can use a different social network. That's totally fine. We'll let you share it, obviously, on Facebook. No problem with that. In fact, they encouraged it. But Instagram was different. So the founders of Instagram decided that what they needed was a native social network built into the process. So as soon as you do whatever you're doing to the photo, it posts on a social network, which now we know of as Instagram, which has obviously hundreds of millions of people using it every day. And it's that social act that made Hipstamatic less engaging over time and Instagram more engaging over time. People keep returning to Instagram because they want to know what other people think about their photos. There's great uncertainty when you release that content into the world, into the Instagram world, but you have feedback. Some people will like your photo all the time. Some people will like it some of the time. Some photos will attract tons of likes, others won't. And it's that uncertainty. It's the fact that sometimes you don't get many likes, that people aren't approving, that make the photos that do get approval so much more interesting to you and so much more appealing. Humans are incredibly complex and they're very unpredictable. So when you act on the social world and you get feedback, there's enough uncertainty there to make that really compelling and interesting. So we as humans find that addictive. It's irresistible. We keep returning for more and more and more social feedback. Even if it's hurtful, turns out that it's worse to be ignored than it is to have someone say something mean or horrible to you. So a classic example of this is the site HotorNot, which was actually one of the inspirations for Facebook. So in 2001, a couple of developers designed HotorNot, and it was basically a site where you could post a photo of yourself and people would rate how attractive you were from 1 not to 10 hot, and you got an average score. Now, there's nothing more interesting to people than the question of how attractive they are. Even if they feel bad about the outcome, they are fascinated and they'll keep posting new photos, better photos. And so this engine became incredibly addictive, and it's one of the reasons why Mark Zuckerberg was so interested early on in making Facebook social to the extent that he could. He knew that it was important that people got social feedback. Now, if you're ever creating content or a platform or some service, you want to make sure that people can get feedback from others. It'll make whatever you do addictive. They won't just use it in the beginning, but because of that feedback, which is a renewable resource, they'll come back time and time again.